You are listening to KWMR, 90.5 in Point Reyes Station, 89.9 in Bolinas, and 92.3 in the San Geronimo Valley. Coming up is Secret Sauce, your call-in improvisational radio show. This is Secret Sauce, the show that depends on you for the content. Join in the fun by calling when we ask you to, and even when we don't.
Your hosts are Shelley Rugg and Laura Natkins, and we are ready to infuse some creative secret sauce into your day. Let's start with some creative inspiration.
Oh, but before we do that, I've got to read this weather info. The National Weather Service has issued a coastal flood advisory, which is in effect from 6 a.m. to noon on Saturday. High tide will occur on Saturday morning, generally between 8 a.m. and 10 a.m. The exact height and timing of these tides will vary by location. Low-lying areas along the immediate coast, bayfront marshes, and sloughs can experience minor flooding. Beachgoers may lose entry and exit paths to coves and narrow beaches during high tides. All right, some inspiration.
All right, so here's a quote from Antoine de Saint-Exupéry, who wrote The Little Prince. Probably a lot of us are familiar with that. And
right.
The quote goes, "Perfection is achieved not when there is nothing more to add, but when there is nothing left to take away."
Ah, nice.
Albert Einstein says, "Make things as simple as possible, but no simpler."
Well, that's important.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
I like simple.
Yeah. Oh, here's one from Leonardo da Vinci. "Simplicity is the ultimate sophistication." Oh, and another quote by him. I like this one because I'm an artist who really does feel that the art is more powerful for me when there's that, you can see the hand of the artist in the work.
Yes.
Or, you could take that to live theater, live musical performance, let's see, where the spirit does not work with the hand, there is no art. That's a pretty strong statement to make. But
So some of those quotes really tie into what we're going to be discussing today.
Yes.
Which is about how less can be more.
All right.
And also how you can be more creative by slowing down. And at 9:30, we'll be taking callers to share your art form, such as reading a poem, singing a song, describing a current project. And for the very first time, we will be introducing the Saucy Sisters.
Oh, that's right. The Saucy Sisters are going to show up in the studio today.
We're going to be here to answer all your burning questions about anything.
That's right.
Get ready with
Live,
a question.
here in the studio.
In.
First time ever.
First time.
That's right.
Worldwide performance.
Okay, so we're going to be talking about less is more this morning. And we'd love for you to call in and join the conversation. The numbers to call are 415-663-8492, and line 2 is 8317. So less is more. I mean, when it comes to visual art, certainly the minimalists embrace the idea of less is more.
Yes, they sure do. Yeah.
And I'm thinking one example would be the artist Mondrian. And I remember that he started out painting these trees. And the more he worked on the trees, he started reducing the shapes that were appearing on the surface until he ended up with these grid patterns. Mm-hmm. And just sort of reducing is how he did it.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, I'm a little more familiar with performing arts, both clowning, improvisation, and in those forms, definitely. Just when you slow down and you pay attention, I think this probably is the same really for all creativity.
Right.
The act of slowing down.
Otherwise, you
attention.
Can be prone to overacting.
Right.
Giving a little too much.
Yeah.
When enough is enough.
Right. That's exactly right. And then when you. And also sometimes for, audience to take in what's going on, just the presence of performer who's just being very, very present really is a strong statement.
Right.
On the stage.
Yeah, capturing your attention. When the performer can maintain focus. My dad wrote a book on theater, theater tips, and the book was called Don't Look Stupid. And, some of the chapter titles, like Don't Look Stupid, sound a little harsh, but it was all about, getting right to the heart of the matter. And how you don't look stupid on stage is by being present.
Right.
By knowing why you're there, having a purpose, and we've been playing a lot with action theater lately, which has been really fun, and it really seems to be a lot about being in that present moment and opening up the channel and seeing what shows up and being ready to play with it.
Right. It is. It's very much just that you have to first get very much in your body, feeling what your body is feeling essentially, and paying attention to. You sort of learn to pay attention to all the actions and movements that you're making, I think that when you pare things down, that then it just becomes a stronger statement.
Right. Yeah, so that's sort of like reminds me of the editing process. I when I go to write something, I call it a brain dump. Just allowing, or you could call it what is that? Automatic writing. Just let whatever comes up come out onto the paper or into the computer, and then later you go back and look at it and look for what are the most powerful statements. What is overkill here? What's repetitious? What do I, not need in this?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the best way to. For editing, certainly that's what editors do. They start, you start out, or a writer, you start out with all the words, and then slowly you basically take out because, having that one strong word sometimes is better than having 10 in there to describe something.
Yeah.
For a strong image.
Less is more. I'm trying to think of, I think I do struggle a little bit with this idea of less is more because sometimes I feel like my own work is less, like it doesn't have enough content or message in it, and it's more about form. So whether it's my visual artwork or my performance work, I did a number of performances with giant knitting needles, for example. And essentially, the performance was the act of knitting with the giant needles.
Right.
Because it's a little ridiculous.
That's a big, strong statement.
But I always feel like, well, what am I trying to say? And I guess that's where artists sort of need to get out of their own way and allow what comes up, what shows up, to be enough, and let the viewer add the story. Let the viewer figure out what is the meaning behind it.
Mm-hmm. Well, they're going to anyway. I mean, you might even have your own meaning. That doesn't matter because the viewer is going to
Good point.
basically see it the way they see it.
That's right. Well, we have a caller on the air.
All right.
And caller, make sure to watch your language while you're on the radio. And please tell us your name. You're on the air.
Good morning, Shelley. It's MK.
Hi, MK. Thanks for
I'm
calling.
thinking about simplicity and what you ladies are speaking about. And I don't know about you, but I do most of my clothing shopping at the thrift stores these days.
Yeah, I do too.
I always look and find the simplest clothes with the ones that I love because they're timeless and usually very well made and usually very expensive because simplicity isn't easy.
Oh no! No! Get
and
there.
I don't know, Shelley. You're an artist, and I'm a painter, and I don't know if Laura's an artist. She's more of an actor artist. But when you're starting out a picture, if it's going to work. Maybe I do at this point, even like maybe after the first couple of lines on the page. Some days it just isn't there, and you just have to wait for it to come back, or you mess around with it and waste a lot of material, or just put it down and walk away.
Right.
But simplicity is not easy. Simplicity is it's an art.
Yeah.
And you can try to stick a flower on it, or jazz it up, or fix it up, or take out a line, or something else. If it's not going to work, it's not going to work. Does that make any sense?
Right. Being able to recognize when it has arrived, is something that has to be developed. And I was reading somewhere they were talking about artists who don't kind of have that ability to recognize can often think.
I don't know how they could stand it.
They just think everything they make is amazing.
It's super.
Yeah, because they just don't have that.
Gets a certificate of participation. For
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So.
Oh man.
But then there's others of us who can be a little overly critical.
Oh yeah.
And I had a friend who worked on his paintings. It seemed like endlessly. They just never were right. They never were enough. And he actually, would keep working them until the surface just basically was falling apart.
Yeah,
That's
I know
different
those
way.
people.
So a little overly critical because he actually wasn't quite a gifted artist, but he just...
He might be just trying to work out some personal stuff, too.
That could be.
Could be.
Oh, seriously, that you're something that's dissatisfying you about yourself. And if you're a visual artist, you can, do exactly what he did. And
just keep grinding away at it.
Into a mud pie.
Right.
Well, I'm also besides dabbling in my improv and clowning, I'm also an architect. Architecture is also a sort of a functional art, and it's not.
And it's a very exact art.
It's very exacting. Yeah.
You hope.
I hope so, because people are going to live in it. But still, when I'm working on the design, I'm always trying for really simplicity. What's going to be really simple, but yet spaces that
clarity is really
clarity, but a space that's going to impact people. Because I do believe that space.
Do you trust your own taste, though? Do you think now that sometimes I make pictures and I just think, I'd buy that.
Oh, you would buy it? That's good.
Buy it from myself because I'm so pleased with what I've done.
Yeah. Well,
other times it's kind of like, well.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Sure. I have those moments. I mean, sometimes I really feel really good about what I've done, and.
But the fact that you keep doing it is pretty important.
Yeah. Well, it's also makes a living, so.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Well, I had a instructor in college who, she was actually on my graduate committee, and I had a very unfortunate graduate committee meeting just before the summer break. And after that meeting, she said to me, just go home and don't make any art for a little while.
Really?
And then, and she told me to read a book called The Courage to Create by Rollo May. So I did that. And then I just sort of sat with myself and, observed my whatever came up. And one of the things she had said was, well, paint what you want to paint. Paint what you would hang in your own home over your own couch. Just do that. And so it basically I ended up going back to kind of my kind of baseline, which was to do a drawing in charcoal. And I started with.
Did you feel that you what was she telling you? Was she just telling you to go home and step away from it? Was she discouraging you?
Oh no.
Oh, okay.
Actually, it was quite the opposite.
Okay.
I had gotten a little confused with my work. I think I was like overwhelmed with trying to understand what the art world's, where do I fit in the art world and who am I as an artist? And I had been doing charcoal portraits and felt like it wasn't enough. And so I started exploring other things. And one of my committee chair walked off of my committee that day without saying anything other than, you'll have to find a new chairman, and then he walked out.
Yikes.
So that was really harsh. And so she was basically trying to help me digest that and process that and get through the summer and coming back fresh and okay. So I'm going to remind our listeners, you're listening to Secret Sauce on KWMR 90.5 in Point Reyes Station, 89.9 in Bolinas, and 92.3 in San Geronimo Valley. And we're talking about the creative concept, less is more. And if you'd like to join the conversation, the number to call is 415-663-8317 is line 2 that's open right now. And once MK says goodbye, it'll be 8492. All right. So.
Okay, I will say goodbye.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Enjoy the day, ladies.
Well,
right,
thanks for calling,
thanks
MK.
For calling in, MK.
Sure.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.
All right. So now line 1 is open, 8492. Less is more. Let's see. Can you think of any time you sort of overdid it with a project?
Well, usually, I think I start in that place where sometimes that, I think it's the same way that you talked about with writing almost, that sometimes, I'm putting in lots of little details and then I'm working my way backwards. Mm-hmm. But actually, more often I tend to work sort of simply and then see what can I add in to.
Okay.
What can I add in that will enhance it? I think that's the better way to go.
Well, looks like we have a caller. Caller, you are on the air. Please tell us your name.
Hi, it's Claire Peasley.
Hi, Claire Peasley.
Hi, Claire Peasley.
Hi, Secret Saucy ladies.
Hey, nice
Thanks for
to hear
calling
from
in.
you.
I was actually getting set to come in on line 2 when your other caller freed up line 1.
All right.
All right.
Either line is good.
Yeah, I have a couple of thoughts as you were exploring the topic. And first, I just want to really congratulate you on this great radio experiment.
It is an experiment.
Out to host impromptu conversations on air about creative process.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Well, one of the things we talked about this morning on the way over here is, outing ourselves that we're really, not sure. We show up and we don't know what's going to happen. And this is really what we're trying to encourage other people to do is to jump in and try stuff.
Right, exactly. We're just trying to walk our talk here.
I have my hat off to you, all of my hats.
Okay, good.
I don't have a hat on my head.
All right. Well, thanks, Claire.
Earlier, you were talking about a couple of creative genres, I suppose, that I could actually relate to. I have no knowledge of painting or drawing or the visual arts. In fact, I'm kind of awed by that somebody like you, Shelley, can produce the kind of work. I don't think most people know the sophistication and power of your portraiture, of the body of work that you've got, and all the experimentation you're doing. But it's another world to me. I don't
Well,
have
thank you.
relationship to that medium.
Yeah.
However, a couple of things about less is more sort of do resonate for me, and one is as a writer, where my process is to, like you said, to get as much down as I can, and then start crafting it, and usually with the help of a good sorry, my voice. Usually with the help of a good editor, it starts getting smaller and smaller.
Yeah.
And by the time it's down to about half the original length, it's done. It has some shape, and that process of going from excessive to just about right is quite instructive, because you kind of have to lose some of the words and phrases you really liked, or the ideas for structure or what have you.
Right.
But you think about a poem, that really, really rings as a whole piece, and how spare and kind of fine the imagery is, and you don't want anything taken away from it. You definitely don't want anything added to it either.
Right. That's it.
Yeah.
That's the balance that we're looking for, right?
Yeah, where they've really chosen each word so carefully to make the image that they're looking for.
Process the feelings behind it, and sort of musicality.
Right.
Yeah. So the other kind of medium where I feel you today is in the world of improvisational performance, that action theater teaching that we've been sharing and looking at together.
Yeah.
Right.
And the thing that came up for me when you were talking about that earlier, physical embodiment and just pure presence in the moment. This is a form of improvisation that doesn't have a shtick,
Right.
or a audience suggestion, or a play on Shakespeare or anything else. Just channeling some magical inspiration and putting it into your body. And when performing this, no matter how experienced a person is, the tendency is to want to fill up every possible cubic inch of space in the acting area, and every possible moment in the time scenario, because of nerves, and it's almost like falling in water and flailing about to stay afloat. That's what it's nervous energy.
Right.
And if the confidence can be summoned to go to simplicity and stillness, there's a amazing potency that happens for everybody in the room.
Right.
And it's rare, because we're so busy all the time. We're used to being overstimulated and just modifying what we notice. But to pare it down to and boil it down to something essential and leave off the excess is where the real discovery lies, in that form.
Yeah.
Right. And I was going to say, and I know, Claire, that you are quite a naturalist, and then you do some explorations in nature with, I think I haven't gone on any with you, but I
Well, you
will.
should.
I will, but I was thinking that maybe you could, even tie that in a little bit, because that's a little bit about slowing down, just the slowing down piece too, and being in nature, noticing, and then also exploring the movement out there.
Well, that's a great question. I hadn't even thought of that, but I went out walking a week ago today to investigate a question. I wanted to try and understand for myself what it means to walk as a pilgrim in the land, in the natural setting. because I had an essay to write about that. I had given myself a little assignment.
Good.
And I wanted to learn. I went solo. I didn't go with a guide or somebody who teaches this, although we'll have that opportunity this year through the Geography of Hope, the theme. And one of the practices embedded in the year is pilgrimage in the land, in the sacred in the land. And I didn't quite understand, well, I've done some reading and everything, so I just decided to take a walk and go out there and find out what I could. I knew the idea was to set an intention for the walk, and I didn't really have one. So I started asking the trail and the plants and the mosses and fungi and lichen at stops along the way, what am I supposed to know here? What am I supposed to notice? And almost at the beginning, I got an answer, which was, quote, "There are no secrets here. Just put one foot in front of the other." And that lasted me for the next 4.5 hours. I'm a slow walker. I don't know the stopping. But I was saturated just with no expectation and no evaluation. I was just taking in sensations. And that little message, every time I came, especially every time I came to another stream crossing, that seemed to pop out. Just there's no secrets. There's no great hidden wisdom here. There's no great, revelation. Just keep putting your feet on the ground.
Right.
That's pretty basic.
Right.
Maybe that addresses your question a little bit.
One foot in front of the other. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's about as simple as we get.
It's just about.
Well, yeah, and it's the enoughness of being a part of that very nature that you're observing.
Right. That's a good term, I think, for all of these different expressions that you're branching into is enoughness.
Enoughness, right. Yeah, we were joking before the show started about having enoughness, and did we have enoughness to share some of this enoughness with somebody else?
Right, you wonder,
Or did we want to keep the enoughness for ourselves?
in an improvisation, when you're going off kind of stepping off the edge into the unknown, you wonder, oh my God, where am I going to get enough content or enough cleverness or enough interest or value to hold people's attention?
Oh yeah,
and that's what that is.
Yeah, we were going through that big time this morning.
That's great. Well,
this is our third show, but why are we so scared?
It seems like there's plenty.
I think we got
if you just open up your receptors and open up your heart,
Exactly.
And spaciousness is perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Anyway, congratulations and thanks to you both.
All right.
Yeah, thank you, Claire.
Thank you for calling us.
Hey, we're about to move into our section on Share Your Art Form. Are you working on anything currently that you want to share?
Well, I don't have anything with me. The work I've been doing has gone into this writing project. And I think what I'm going to do is leave that space open for another caller and another guest. And
Sounds good.
Encourage other listeners to call the show, and I'll be tuned in.
All right.
Great. Thanks, Claire. Have a great day.
Good day.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
All right.
Yeah. Well, that's really interesting. I mean, our show is sort of focusing on creativity, but all of these things life is creative. All of life is creative. And so just taking that walk, slow walk, can be a creative act. It's all about what do you bring to it, and what are you, your awareness, really, and just the more we increase our awareness, the more opportunities there are.
Yeah, and I was thinking about also there's the act of creation and then the act of destruction, is also a possibility. Oh, we have a caller.
Oh.
Caller, you are on the air. What's your name?
Oh, my name's Andy.
Oh, hi, Andy. How are you?
Oh, great.
I'm well, thank you.
Great, Andy.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
I can hear you just fine. So, hi.
Well, why don't I do the station ID, and then we'll go into our next segment?
Yep.
This is KWMR Community Radio for West Marin, 90.5 in Point Reyes Station, 89.9 in Bolinas, 92.3 in the San Geronimo Valley, and streaming live on KWMR.org. I have to read this national service. Right. The National Weather Service has issued a coastal flood advisory, which is in effect from 6 a.m. to noon on Saturday. High tide will occur on Saturday morning, generally between 8 a.m. and 10 a.m. The exact height and timing of these tides will vary by location. Low-lying areas along the immediate coast, bayfront, marshes, and sloughs can experience minor flooding. Beachgoers may lose entry and exit paths to coves and narrow beaches during high tides. All right.
So, Andy, did you... and now we're at the Share Your Art Form segment. And do you have something you want to share with us? What you've been doing recently?
Yes, I do. So I am writing a novel, actually. I'm very excited about it.
And is this your first novel?
Yes, it is. Yeah, it sort of is an outgrowth of what I like to call improvisational storytelling.
Right. You did that at 10 by 10 a few times.
Right.
I did, and I was really inspired by just telling stories to children. So they really are an inspiring audience because they just they're like, and then what happened?
Right.
Well, what did happen?
Yeah, that's right. So
how did you get started writing a novel? Yeah. It sounds like such a huge undertaking.
Well, yeah, we might want to take a small step backwards because what we have is I'm a 7th and 8th grade teacher for a Montessori school, and one of the things that we do is something called a personal odyssey. And the personal odyssey is sort of like, okay, we've got all this curriculum, all these things that we're doing, but what's one thing that you want to do? What's something that you're interested in? And then at our school, we have 4 of those a year. So I did wood carving, like with making wooden spoons and spatulas. I did one where I was learning French. And then I did another where I was trying to teach myself how to play the guitar using YouTube videos. And then I did one on improvisational bread making. So then I needed...
Was that successful?
Oh, it was. It
was
so fun. I just had a basic knowledge of making bread, and every day I'm like, I need to make something without measuring or looking at a recipe. And I'm just making things up as I go along. And my goal was to make bread every day, and I did. And the students were very pleased with my results. I mean, they said, oh, I like this one.
Oh, good. Oh, well, that's nice. You have a test audience.
And so this year I was sort of casting about for something to do for the second quarter. And I was at a Halloween party, and my friends were talking about how they were about to do something called NaNoWriMo, National Novel Writers Month, which is you take the whole month of November and you write a novel.
Oh, wow.
That's a good challenge.
It starts at, midnight on November 1st. And so they were getting ready to go home and light a candle for their muse and start writing. And I think the idea is that, number one, just get the words out. Just let it flow. And so if you have this sort of artificially imposed November deadline, that you'll just like, all right, you're going to sit down and write, and whatever comes out is something that you can work with and refine later. And then the other thing with NaNoWriMo is there's people all over the world who are doing it. So you have a community of people so you're not quite as alone.
Do people share some of the work they're doing and ask for suggestions and stuff like that?
I think so. I think there's like a whole online world.
But you didn't do that.
You didn't plug into that part?
I only did it after the fact because I didn't really tell anyone I was doing it.
Because a secret writer.
Sure.
Closet writer.
Maybe I'll just get something down before I tell people.
You didn't want to really commit. That would have been too much of a commitment. I understand.
Yeah. So I think I was 2/3 of the way through writing the novel before I even told anyone. But the first start that I had, I didn't even like it, and so I was like, whatever. But then I had some time right around Thanksgiving. I'm like, all right, well, let's give it a shot again, and it just flowed out. And the goal is 50,000 words in November, and by the end of November, I only had like 35,000. But I figured since I really got the second start, on like November 17th, I gave myself some time into December. Mm-hmm. And since I wasn't officially on the NaNoWriMo website, I thought it was all right. So I think I was done with 50,000 by December 7th.
Uh-huh. Congratulations.
Wow.
Thank you.
50,000.
Yeah.
So do you want to share what the novel is? And you're still continuing to work on it, I think.
Yeah, and so that's actually a process. I remember from writing essays and things in college how frustrating it was that you'd be done and then you'd have someone read it and they'd go, and then like you'd bring it to your professor and they'd read it and then say, okay, go for your second draft, which was actually the third draft by then.
Right.
And then by the time I had like a fourth draft, it was done, and it was this polishing experience that I remember most from writing.
Mm-hmm.
And so. All right. So what really got me inspired is I've been really wanting to figure out how to talk about climate change.
Yeah.
And the other passion that I have is like, how does a person become an adult? And since I work with teenagers, it's like a daily question for me. And really the questions of how do you become an adult are like, who am I? How do I fit into this world? And like, what is my great work? And if you can answer those questions, if you can structure your life as a teenager so that you answer those questions, you're on your way to becoming an adult. And so, like,
if an adult can answer those questions, they're on their way to becoming an adult.
Right. The secret is, of course, that we're always in process of becoming more adults.
Yes, I think so.
Mm-hmm.
I think so.
Yeah.
But teenagers have sort of a special ability to answer those questions because they're like in this sensitive period where they're really emotional and they take risks and they're sensitive to music and poetry and thinking about the big things, and they're really interested in how they fit in with their social life as well.
Right.
And we all are as adults, but they're in the thick of it.
Oh yeah.
And so I wanted to throw my protagonist as a teenager who is becoming an adult. But I also wanted a voice of sort of wisdom and reason in there as well. Mm-hmm. And so I said, okay, well, how do I get these voices? And I said, oh, well, what if they're having a conversation? And so I got this idea of letters back and forth, which apparently is a whole like
genre
way that people do novels.
Right. Do you have a passage that you might want to read?
Oh, it's not really in front of me.
Okay.
That's fine.
Okay. Yeah.
But I can give you the whole layout.
Yeah.
Okay,
So who are the
yeah.
characters that are writing to each other?
So I've got Benji as a teen, and he's 15 years old, and he lives in a city. And Peter is an adult. He's his grandpa who lives in the country. So I live in the country right now, and I deal with teens who are from the city. And so that was sort of like I can talk to both of these perspectives. And what happens is Benji is riding back and forth with Peter in the midst of what is sort of like a perfect storm of climate change issues. So you've got 3 hurricanes that are coming all at once in the midst of the worst wildfire season in history. And as these hurricanes come, our government collapses. They just don't have the...
Unbelievable.
Really? That wouldn't happen in this country.
My friends who are reading it say, "Ooh, it's a little too,
A little too political.
A little too real. Possibility.
And so then I think, okay, well, probably what would happen in the event of a collapse would be the military would step in. And I imagine a military that has kind of been running through scenarios over time and has like a plan in place for this very scenario. And their plan is, okay, we've got to like support all the people in the most efficient way. Let's get them to move to the cities, and we will institute some sort of rationing program so that people can survive. And in order to do that, they start, rolling out authoritarian measures. And in order to get people to the city, they're like, okay, we're going to cut off services to the people in the country because they use way too much fossil fuel in order to live in the country. So then
True.
I've got these two storylines that develop, and they're writing back and forth through different ways, sort of underground ways, because they actually cut off the internet to the country. And so Grandpa Peter decides to stick it out in the country, and they're living this sort of anarchy where they develop their own systems with their neighbors. And Peter is there in the city, and he's developing relationships with friends because, of course, he's a teenager and is really into social life. But they're also like developing an underground newspaper, and so things sort of are evolving sort of in both scenes. And then Peter, because of his underground newspaper, Benji, our teen, gets picked up by the police and taken to a prison camp in northern Minnesota. And so we of course, the basic drama of story is, okay, once upon a time, there was this person or this place, and every day this thing happened, and then one day something else happened. Ooh, that's the tilt. And so the tilt was climate change, disaster, and authoritarian coup, and all of this.
That's quite a tilt.
And then because of that, this happened, and because of that, this happened.
Right.
It's like all of these things that follow because of this. And
right.
Sort of that's the way improvisational storytelling works, where you set things up, and then this happened.
Right.
And then the thing that got me was I was telling this story to a friend of mine, and he was like, well, I don't like it. Well, see, I don't want to read anything that doesn't have a happy ending about climate change.
Yeah.
There I was, like, okay, yeah, I get it too, because I get so discouraged as a citizen of this world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I need something that's encouraging, and so I start to morph the story so that Grandpa, in his anarchy out there in the country, is actually creating systems that are really resilient and that are respectful of all voices in his community. And that in addition to being resilient himself, he's thinking strategically about his whole community, and that his thinking, along with Grandma, because I also realized both of my characters are white males, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to give...
Where's the diversity here?
You write from what you know.
Yeah, but I also want diversity of points of view and viewpoints. So Grandma all of a sudden got her own letters and chapters. Benji's sister, Melody, got her letters and chapters.
So it's growing.
And so things grew as they evolved, and so Grandpa is evolving there, and then I have Benji evolving in the prison camp. Actually, that they're working on organizing the prison, and they're having classes within the prison about nonviolent resistance. And
I want to know about kind of how this process was for you, because you've never done it before. Was there any guidance given to you, or were you completely off the cliff edge?
Shelley, I was completely off the cliff edge. I was writing. I was just there. I had my coffee. I'm like, oh, and then what happened? And I didn't really know what would happen, and then I would write, and then I'm like, and it would just flow, and then I'd have a whole chapter. And
so in a way, taking the improvisational storytelling to a different place and putting it in writing.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, that's so great.
But really pushing it further because you made a big challenge for yourself. You know, I mean, it's a bigger challenge than to say, oh, I'm just going to tell a story. You know, get up on stage and tell a 10-minute story. It's quite a different challenge to say, well, I'm going to write a
50,000 word novel. And I've never done that before.
I've never done it before.
Yeah, and I think
that's great.
That's the beauty of NaNoWriMo.
Yeah, it certainly sounds that way. Certainly seems that way.
All right. Well, we're getting ready to welcome the Saucy Sisters into the studio in a few minutes. And so we're going to have to let you go.
Great.
Okay,
thanks so much for calling in. It was really great hearing about that, and maybe you'll inspire some of our listeners out there to take on a challenge like that.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. All right, thanks, Andy.
Yeah.
I appreciate getting the chance to talk about it. Thank you both.
Bye.
Bye-bye. All right. Well, I think you get to read that.
Oh, yes, there's something for me to read. Okay, this is KWMR's bi-weekly Secret Sauce call-in show with co-hosts Laura Natkins and Shelley Rugg. To join in on the fun, please call us on 415-663-8492. And now, for the very first time, we want to welcome the Saucy Sisters live in the studio. Please get ready to call in with all your burning questions. They will have the answers.
Oh, hello there.
Hi!
This is Sadie Saucy.
And this is Sydney Saucy. It's so great to be on the radio.
Oh, my goodness. You always yelling, Sydney.
I don't yell. You're the yeller, I think, but I don't know. I'm just excited.
I know. We're going to hear all the burning questions from our listeners.
We are such good answerers. We just really are good answerers. So you need to give us some really good questions because we're smart and we're very clever.
That's
we're funny.
Right. We got what it takes.
Yes.
Yes. Well, we do have a listener who wrote in with a question.
Oh, how nice.
How's this for a question?
Okay, I'm listening. Everyone else listen too.
Do yous believe in climate change? Can you believe this question?
What a question.
Not to believe.
It's not a believing thing. It's a fact.
It just is a reality.
It's a reality. I mean, look at the weather today.
Time to slow down. Take it slow. Use public transportation.
Yes.
Get rid of your plastic straws.
Walk. Do your 10,000 steps at least.
Oh, absolutely.
At least 10,000, if not more.
Yes, if you have a burning question for us, the Saucy Sisters, we got Sydney over here.
I'm the older one.
I'm Sadie Saucy over here.
Sadie's the baby sister.
If you just have a burning question, call 415-663-8492.
We can talk about anything. We could talk about politics. We could talk about your creativity problems, your relationship
yes,
problems.
Your love life.
But the main thing is we come up with creative solutions. Very creative.
Oh.
What's your creative background? Sadie. Sadie knows how to knit.
Yes,
She's a good knitter.
I learned from my grandmother. She was fabulous at knitting, and
You made me a great scarf one year.
I love that color.
Yeah, it was a nice
Fuchsia.
color. Fuchsia. Good color.
It's the best color.
So bright.
Along with, what's that? Chartreuse.
Oh, chartreuse. Fuchsia and chartreuse. Oh,
The
my God. The
best.
best.
To die for.
To die for.
So, call in 415-663-8492 or 8317. And we have another question.
We do have another question that listener, actually someone who had called before, wrote in. It's a little bit of a complicated question, but I think we're up to it.
All right, let's hear it.
Okay, it says, MK Chandler says, what are your feelings about ageism? If we're as old as we feel, why do we seem invisible? We all know people of age who are incredibly young in mind, as well as young ones under 40, say, who lug millstone like there's no tomorrow.
Oh, my gosh. Well, you know, I feel this.
What do you feel? Spit it out,
I feel
Sadie.
young.
I feel young, too.
I feel younger than I look when I see myself in the mirror. I have to admit it.
And you act that way, too.
I want to play. I
Yeah.
want to play with the younger people, and they look at me and they say, there's an old lady walking towards
Yeah, but
me.
then they play. Then they see you playing, and they want to come play, too. You know, it's infectious. Play is infectious.
So any age, huh?
Any age. And boy, is she right that there are some 40-year-olds and younger who just have like these heavy stones around their neck. I mean, they're just
And
working too hard. It's like you got to do all the time. Get
they
things
need
accomplished.
to play.
They need to play. They need to slow down. Isn't that what Laura and Shelley were talking about earlier? Slowing down a little bit?
Less is more. Oh, look, we've got a caller.
Got a caller.
Got a caller.
How great.
Caller, you are on the air. What's your name?
Hi, my name is Miyoko.
Oh, Miyoko, thanks for calling. This is the Saucy Sisters
Thanks.
answering all your burning questions. What you got?
Hello, Saucy Sisters.
Hi, Miyoko.
Hey.
Thanks for calling. What's your question?
Sure, my question is, do you guys know about the Mindful Eating Film and Food Festival today in Point Reyes, and what do you think about it?
Oh, well, yeah, actually, our friend, our co-host Shelley she'll be at the festival all day.
We do know about it, and it's a great thing, but do you want to tell a little bit to the people about it? You could do that.
Sure, we're going to have some great food, and what we want to do is connect people, get people to start thinking about the food on their plate.
Wait, you're going to serve food there?
Yeah, they'll be
Oh, well.
there, and we'll be showing some.
Well, I'll be
films.
there.
We'll be showing 5 films, and they're all about connecting the food on your plate to climate change, which you were just discussing.
Yes.
Human health,
Uh-huh.
and our own humanity towards animals. So I think there's something for everybody, and I hope people come out. The festival is free. You can pay at the door to see any of the films. It's only $20 to see all the films, $15 if you're a senior, and if you were a furloughed government employee, it's free.
Oh, that's
so
nice.
nice.
Nice. That's a bargain.
It's
It
such
sure
a
is.
5 films for $20. Where do you get that these days? Nowhere. And food. Is the food free?
Absolutely.
Is the food
Well,
free?
the food's not free.
Okay,
There's some
you gotta
samples
pay
that are
for it.
free,
Okay.
but if you want to buy a meal, you can.
I bet it's good food. This is Point Reyes,
yeah.
after all.
There'll be
Food's
some great
always
food, so yeah, please
Yeah.
check it out.
All right. That
Well,
sounds terrific.
Thanks for calling.
Yeah, I think
All
that's.
right,
I think
thank
it's a
you.
great idea. She wanted to
Well,
know our
go ahead.
opinion.
Get
She-
that opinion.
You
Thank
wanted
you
to
so
know
much,
your
Doc.
opinion. I think it's great. I think it's great.
We like food.
We like food. We like movies.
Yeah,
It's win-win.
Yeah.
absolutely. All right. Thank
Well,
you.
thanks for calling.
We also like
All right.
animals. vegetables and minerals.
That's right. All right. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye. Well, that was fun, having a live caller. Anybody else? Any other brave soul? You can make a plug for something if you want. That's okay. Because we'll give you opinion about your plug.
We do have our opinions.
We got lots of opinions. For anything and everything. Oh, look, there's a caller. I see a light flash. Oh, my God. This is great.
Let's try. Hello, caller. You are on the air.
Who is this?
This is Peter.
Peter!
Peter, you're listening to the Saucy Sisters. We are answering all your burning questions.
You got a
Full
question?
disclosure, I'm married to one of the Saucy Sisters.
No.
No, you're not. Who are you married to?
I've forgotten her name.
All right.
In civilian life, she goes...
Sydney. Sydney is her name.
Sydney.
Anyway,
Yeah. What's your question?
calling
Peter, you always got
ask
questions. You are the question man.
how to make gold out of mistakes. Now, I was inspired with this question, partly because I saw Shelley and Jen performing in 10 by 10 last weekend, and they did it numerous times. They make a lot of mistakes. But
Are you insulting them, or you kind of not?
No,
I mean, what
no,
kind of question? I just
I'm
want to know how we should take it.
But there's also something that's been going on this broadcast I think you guys are blissfully unaware of,
Uh-oh. What?
which is during your interview with Andy,
Yeah?
lots of things that were said by all of you at different times were being broadcast repeatedly. That is, broadcast repeatedly. That is, broadcast repeatedly. That is, and it was bizarre, and I think you were unaware of it as some technical glitch.
Yeah, we didn't know that.
But had you been aware of it, what might you have done with it?
Oh.
This is the question.
This is
what you're giving us.
How do you make gold out
How
of
to
that?
make gold out of
A mistake. That's an interesting
You know, what is it?
Technical difficulties. I hate technical difficulties.
There's this thing called wabi-sabi.
Wabi-sabi.
Wabi-sabi. You love the little kinks.
Oh, yeah. It's what makes something personalized kind of in artwork. The perfect bowl. That's right. You don't want it just so totally perfect. You can have a little imperfection in there.
A little imperfection.
Imperfection. I've got a wooden bowl that had a crack in it. A crack.
A crack?
A crack. And it was a beautiful bowl. Perfect. Except for the crack. But then it got fixed with like a little bow tie bandage. That kind of thing.
Oh.
Yeah. But I don't know about technical difficulties, Peter. I don't know what we do with that. We bring in a technician. That's a little difficult, that question.
Yeah.
That's a difficult question.
Well,
That's a really difficult. I mean, was it interesting?
Well, it was interesting partly because at first I thought I think the first one I heard do it was Andy, and then I realized, no, I had heard that before, and I thought that Laura was just kind of stumbling over her lines and repeating them. But it happened like 6 or 8 times.
Uh-oh.
And it didn't seem to interrupt the flow of conversation. That is, it didn't obliterate the other conversation around it. It just repeated something and then went on. It all stayed logical.
Okay.
But
Peter, I'm going to have to cut you short because we're coming to the end of the time and they want us to get off. Laura and Shelley are saying it's time for giving us the cut signal. You know that cut signal? The hook, like a hook. But thank you for calling. And that gold thing, that's a good question, the mistakes to gold. I like that, actually.
thank you, Peter. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. Well, the Saucy Sisters were just in the studio.
Boy, they made a
answering
quick
questions.
Exit. They made a quick exit. But thank you to the Saucy Sisters.
Yeah. The National Weather Service has issued a coastal flood advisory, which is in effect from 6 a.m. to noon on Saturday. High tide will occur on Saturday morning, generally between 8 a.m. and 10 a.m. The exact height and timing of these tides will vary by location. Low-lying areas along the immediate coast, bayfront, marshes, and sloughs can experience minor flooding. beachgoers may lose entry and exit paths to coves and narrow beaches during high tides.
All right. This week's challenge, is going to be a very quick one, is do one creative thing a day for the next 2 weeks. And if you want to call in and let us know on our next show, please do.
All right. We would like to thank all of our listeners and our callers today for their participation. I hope you'll tune in every other Saturday at 9 a.m. to get your creative juices flowing. This has been Secret Sauce.